Welcome inside the kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it, one lit at a time. Your host, Kevin, Ben, and Roderick. Lock in.
All right, we had a little technical difficulties at the end of the last episode, so here's the second part of it. We'll be waiting on T-Rod to call in and give his part of it, and Benny's here, so we'll get back into where we was.
You remember where we was?
Yeah, we were talking about produce, not bought, and T-Rod was going off about everybody has to buy a dog.
Yeah, he was. He was pretty emphatic about it.
Yeah, he was pretty offended that I brought that up. But the point behind that is being you have to, yes, everybody has to buy a dog to start. But if you continue to buy dogs and you don't produce dogs, then you're a buyer. You're not a breeder. You're not a producer. So people get offended by it, but that's the meaning behind the statement. Sooner or later, if you're serious in this game, you should be producing 3, 4, 5, 6 generations out on what you started with. So
you don't think that people who just continually buy new stuff are they're lesser in the business or in the game?
I'm not saying they're lesser because, I mean, there's a lot of guys that's made a lot of money buying studs, but, you know, it's always a new stud. And this is my point behind people can't trust that you're still going to have that dog if you're switching studs every 6 months. You know, you're bringing them in, getting that initial run, pushing them to the side, sending them out on a co-own, bringing in a new stud to try to get that initial reaction, that initial lock-in of just getting that quick money up front. And then you know when they're going to slow down, you ship them out instead of building something with that and building a brand off of it.
But that's just another portion of it, right? Like that's part of it with the DNA, right? Like if you don't, personally, I'm on the other side of the fence, but just for the sake of argument, like if there's not people doing that, then it just kind of stops, right? Like somebody has to be the one.
Well, I agree to a point, but if you're a breeder, you should have females on your yard that you're actually producing that new DNA with also. You know what I'm saying?
Some of us don't want to take that risk. I don't want.
I
don't want to create an F1 with some of my females.
Well, no, I'm not saying an F1, but you can breed to. I get it. They bring in the studs. You can breed to that stud. And let's be honest, there's only a handful of people in the dog game that's really successful at swapping studs out that quick and being able to buy a stud. And are they really making money? I don't know. But
I don't know if anybody is. It seems like it's all just smoke and mirrors.
It's one of those things where you can't, and I'm not pocket watching them, I'm not whatever, but for me, for instance, with Flair, the reason he's still busy to this day is because people know he's never going anywhere. So if they spend their money with me, they're going to get their rebreeds. They don't have to chase down a new owner to that stud and all of that. Secondly, I can tell them where he came from. I can show them pictures of generations before him. I don't want to, for the sake of not pissing off half of the breeding world, I don't want to.
Oh, you're going to let that roadblock stop you now?
No, not really. But if you're chasing the hype of a breeder and their new stud, every time they come out with a new stud, you never develop a line. You never develop a direction that you're really going in. And I don't care who the stud owner is, You cannot buy their hype. You can pay them to use their studs. You can buy one of their puppies, but you cannot buy the hype from that breeder. That doesn't transfer with a stud credit. It doesn't transfer with a puppy purchase. That is organically built by that particular person. So no matter what you get, what you use, how you do it, whether you buy it, you produce it, you do whatever, if you can't promote it and you can't build a brand off of it, or you can't build a reputation from it, then you're always going to be behind as far as selling dogs or selling stud fees. Or it takes more than just saying, okay, I put 2 dogs together and I created this dog and now I should be at the top. No.
Well, no, but people that cycle their studs through, that's a vicious cycle. They don't have, the way I see it, they don't have a choice, because if that's how you are and that's your model,
If that's how they started, that's how they are.
Then you don't have a choice but to keep, because like once you bring, because those aren't finished studs, those ones with
Right.
the new DNA and stuff like that, they're not near finished, and when they start breeding those, there's a life to them because they're not finished.
Right.
You're not going to come back because structure's usually not going to be a consideration.
Because it ain't going to take quick for somebody to outproduce that
Right.
structurally.
Yeah, they're one generation away, so they got a year.
Right.
They start breeding, they got about a year before there's better versions of that dog there.
But that brings me back to my point of producing dogs. Smart breeders have a yard full of females, or it ain't even got to be a yard full. They've got foundation females that they know they can run to these studs and they can come out with a better version of that stud. So, and if they're smart, they don't keep the version of the stud. They keep a better female than what that stud was and go from there and try to build it back that way. Because if you don't, then you're just continuously in a cycle, and it's called scatter breeding. There's no rhyme or reason why you keep breeding all these different things other than DNA. But DNA is so easy to get, and a lot of these new DNA fads are just one copy of it. Big Rope, one copy. Flutal, one copy. You know, all of these new fads they're bringing in, Velvet, one copy. All these new fads they're bringing in, it's one copy.
Yeah, Husky.
So, yeah, Husky, one copy. Kois, one copy. It's too easy to get DNA now.
Well, that's why the colors and the fluffies had such a good run.
Right.
It's because you have 2 carriers, only 25% is coming out, and the chances of getting exactly what you want in that 25% was even slimmer than that.
Yeah. So, that's the way I feel about the produced versus the bought. Yes, everybody has to buy, but eventually, if you're going to call yourself a breeder or a producer, and I don't care what anybody says, yeah, you can go spend $50,000 on a dog, and well, you spent $50,000 on a dog. It'll never feel as good as if you produce the dog and turn it into a well-known dog.
I really believe some people, it just don't. It's just about bottom line. Like it don't. There's not a feeling. The feeling is winning, right? Like if they feel like they're winning, they're making money.
Right.
It don't matter if they produced it, bought it. It was a choice they made that led to that. Like I said, personally, I'm with you on the produced thing, but I can see the other side of it, and I'm glad they're out there because
I mean, there is. I mean, you look, Isaac has been very successful at it. Mo's been very successful at it. There's a few other out there that are very successful at it. It's just not. Everybody can't sustain that. Once you get a big following, you can pull that off and make a good run and make money at that. But I just know, as far as me, when people come to use one of my studs, I have to know all about that stud. I got to know its pedigree. I got to know where it came from, all of that. Because I'm not that other breeder that just can cycle studs through and through.
It's a different lane.
They're coming to me for for quality and not to screw up their female. They want to know that they're going to use a stud that isn't going to screw up the breeding. They want quality. And I'm proud of that. And that's okay. And I may not ever have the name that these other guys, and I'm never going to circulate studs through like that, because I had just soon not be in the stud game as I have been. But again, you make your bed, you lay in it. And I put my name in the stud game ring, and that's kind of where everybody knows me with Flair. So I have a couple choices: quit it, stud game altogether, and the price of my puppies drop.
So how many? Well, that's the thing though, is as unfair as it is, or as lopsided as it is, it's always the males that get the attention.
Yes.
So like right now, if you were just somebody coming into the game, who would you go to for a female? That is not as prevalent knowledge as you could probably give me close to 20 people that have decent studs or good studs to start with to go use. But to give me 20 breeders, or even 10, your top 10 breeders, that this is where you should go buy your female from.
Man, that's...
Yeah, see?
But here's the kicker to that, and I want everybody to know they ignored. This is where I'm a big advocate for that little unknown breeder, because they didn't have money to waste. So they probably shopped around and found a hell of a deal on a nice female somewhere. So they started out with a decent female. They can't screw that up, so they looked for the best stud possible. They didn't just follow the hype. They didn't do none of that. They put it together, and that's where you're going to find your best quality puppies, is from the smaller camps that are not in a rush to get to the top DNA. They want it correct, and they didn't have the money to waste on a hope and a dream of some DNA hitting. So, like I always said, quality always sells. So they went the quality route, and they only may be carriers, but you will find the best females in a smaller camp. And now, and let's don't bullshit ourselves. Where are all these big name people getting all of these studs that they're just bringing in all of a sudden? It's from somebody with no name or whatever that they don't have to compete with name-wise. They go buy that puppy or rook them into a co-own deal with them, and they push that dog, and it's beneficial for both of them. But 9 times out of 10, the person that produced the dog, nobody knows who it is.
Yeah, it's less beneficial for them.
Less.
Because that's
monetary-wise, money-wise.
Right, they make the money, but when that dog's breeding
Done.
life is over with, so is their notoriety, because nobody knows who they
and
are.
that partnership,
Yeah.
it kind of just goes away. There's no need, unless they're continuously to produce something top quality to catch the eye of that person that swaps them studs out so much. So you have to look at that when people are thinking about going into partners with these guys. They have to decide, are they after the money, or do they want to build a name? Because in order to go in business with somebody like that already has a name, you kind of have to step to the side and just let them do what they do with the dog and reap the benefits of the money, because people are going to go use that stud from that person with all the hype and not the person that produced the dog.
It's a fundamental decision you have to make, because they're not wrong for what they do.
Nope.
Because that's what they bring to the game, is
Right.
the notoriety, the influence.
Right.
And so that's how they make their money. So they're doing what they do, and you know that to start with.
Right.
Is that to Roderick?
Is he calling you?
No, that's your phone. Oh, wait. I'm lying. That's my phone.
Oh.
That's my son, Brantley.
Oh, so, yeah, it's just one of those things where I don't think anybody's wrong, whether they're buying or they're producing or they're whatever. But the people that are still buying can't get mad at somebody that says produce, not bought.
Now,
You don't see the people producing getting mad at the people buying. The only time you see this question,
it's kind of like but it is a slight, right? Like it is a slight, because there's a bit of I don't, arrogance ain't the right word, but there's a bit of, I'm a little bit better than you because I produced mine and you just bought it. It is.
Nah, that's just the way it's perceived.
No, that's the way it's meant. That may not be the way you meant it when you said it,
But
you can't deny the fact that's the way it's meant when somebody says it online. Because otherwise, why even say it? Why does it even matter?
Because you're proud you produced it. You didn't buy it.
But yeah, well, you can just say,
No,
I
that's like
produced that
we
male
both
or
come from the
female.
racing world. You can go buy a hot rod or you can build one. Which one are you going to be more proud of?
Well, I'm going to be proud of the one I built unless it's getting its ass whipped every week. And then I'm going to go buy something because at the end of the day, being competitive is being competitive. You can be mad as hell and talk about that somebody's wore my ass out for the last 3 weeks with that chassis he bought. But guess what? Guess who took the prize money home?
Right, okay. So on that aspect of it, in that, talking about getting their ass whipped or whatever, if you produced a dog that is winning shows, getting stud fees, or producing badass puppies and all of that, but the person over there that bought a dog is not competing, it brings the same thing to that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And granted, anybody on any day can go out and buy a top-notch dog for whatever price they want to go buy it at, whatever they can afford, right?
Right.
That is not even the thing of it. But eventually, the favorite thing for people to say that buy their dogs is the other thing is, I'm not even in it for money.
Oh, well, that's bullshit.
You know what I'm saying? That's the second argument too. When somebody says produced, not bought, well, I'm not in it for the money. Well, then why did you go spend $50,000 on a dog?
Well, they are in it for money, but what they need to say is they don't make their money off of they don't make a living off the dogs. That's the defining
And that's
difference.
the other thing. There's very few people in this world that solely make a living off of their dogs.
I think that there's a perception that there is much more than there actually is.
Exactly.
Sure.
And it has never been that way. I can promise you we made a ton of money on Flair, but it took a ton of money to make that money on Flair, to get our names out there, to go to shows, to do all of that. You don't notice how much money you made until you sit down and really start calculating it, because you're spending it promoting dogs, going to shows, doing whatever in order to get your name out there. You have to go out there and be that person, and people don't realize that. So those guys that promote those dogs and spend the money, and it used to be that they brought those dogs out to shows. They don't do that so much no more because
the quality's not as good.
That's it. And they don't want to run that risk. I don't want to say me and Flair was a proponent in making people not bring their trash out to shows anymore. But if you're going to talk that shit online and then you're going to bring it to a show, it better be what it was in the pictures. Because if not, somebody's going to walk your ass down. And I've told everybody that. I've been to plenty of shows where there was better looking fluffies than Flair, but not Rojo fluffies. You know, there's not a lot of Rojo fluffies out there that compete with him. They all say they do. They all say they're going to come and show up and stack up against him. But 9 times out of 10, Flair's the only Rojo fluffy in the building anymore. So
from being newer, it almost seems like that aspect of it, like the bigger name dogs that you see all over Instagram, Facebook, such, that you don't see them at the shows. And it feels like there's that thought that if one of them ever were to get stacked up against another one and lose, like that dog's done. But I don't know. I'm a little different. Like if I like a dog, I like a dog. I don't give a shit what you like. I was told a long time ago by an ag teacher, like when we was breeding, for the livestock show, just to get what you like.
Right.
One year it's going to be your turn. You just get what as long as it's got good structure and there's no glaring defects.
I was told that a long time ago too. Breed for what you like because other people will like it too. You will find your clientele. You will find your group of people that like what you're doing, and that's where you'll make your money, and that's, again, you got people out there that like the guys that push their studs and run through them like that. And then you got the people out there that They want a breeder like me that takes a stud and keeps him his whole life, and they know where to go, when to go, how to get a hold of that owner, that dog. They know where it is. So neither one of us is wrong in what we do. It's just marketing.
Well, like tomorrow, I'm fixing to go breed to one of these studs that we're talking about, and I've heard both good and bad in the last 2 weeks about his productions.
Right.
And it's like I told the one that was telling me, oh, it's bad. I heard bad. The pups look bad, this, that, if they don't get this trade. And I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Because I'm going to get it, and I'm going to run it through my camp.
Right.
And we're not going to be talking about what it's doing until 2-3 generations from now. Like the DNA don't age.
Right.
Once you got it, you don't want dogs that look like them anyways.
Right.
Because that's not your camp.
No. And you want to better what you're breeding to.
Yeah.
That should be everybody's objective. No matter what stud it is, no matter what it is, when you breed to it, you should have in mind that you're trying to make it better. That stud should obviously bring something to the breeding that your female is lacking, and you're hoping that they click and they get that together. But in the end, you should be trying to better not better the next person or that or whatever, just better than you was your last breeding.
I just don't think you should. I'm not gonna say you shouldn't listen to anybody, but you should consider opinions of people you respect. But if it is your vision, it can only be your vision if you do it. And if you fail, then you learn.
And that's what I've said all the time. And on the Produce Not Bought, people ask, well, how many generations is it? And I think you got to be a couple, 3 generations in.
I think you maybe start seeing it there, but you're not getting the blood concentrated enough
right.
for it to be you. Because I think, not to cut you off, but I do think that in that situation, when you start producing litters of 4, where 3 of them are undeniably your style of dog,
right,
then you're getting there.
Right.
That when you start getting consistency, you don't get those hypergenetics where you get 1 or 2 dogs that's a keeper and the other 3 you got a pet home.
Right.
And they never see the light of day, outside of your camp.
And that's what I always said. My analogy is you can go buy a pie at Walmart, but it ain't grandma's pie. And that also goes when you're starting out. You can go buy 2 dogs. I just don't believe that first one is your production, especially if you buy them 2 dogs from the same person. But that's like going to grandma's house. She's got the pie all ready and it's in the crust. It just needs to be put in the oven. And you're like, hell, grandma, I'm just going to take the pie. Well, now you can go home. You can put the pie in the oven and it's going to taste like grandma's pie if you don't burn it. You don't screw it up. It's going to taste like grandma's pie. So it goes that same way into breeding. So I think once you buy your dogs, you breed them. But a lot of people don't do that. So a lot of people go out and buy a female and then they start looking for a stud. You know what I'm saying? And this is where I feel like that was your vision, right? Because you took this person's female that you bought off of their production and you bought it. But then you had a vision of what you want. So you go find a stud to match that. So kind of it is your production, because would they have made the same breeding? Would they have made the same choices? You know what I'm saying?
So my first one was I went and bought a Teddy Graham son because I really liked him.
Right.
And I didn't know who the hell Kevin Eastwood and Ric Flair was at the time. But then I had the opportunity to buy a Willy Wonka daughter.
Right.
And I thought, hell, how can that lose? And I was
right.
They're my first 2 dogs.
Right.
And I was like, this shit, I'm fixing to wreck everything. And I put them 2 together, and that was the ugliest damn litter. We gave every one of those away except for one. One piece of the pie tastes like grandma's pie. The rest of that shit was Walmart. Great value, I just tell you. But but we found good homes for them. One of them went to a lady that their house burnt down and they lost their pets.
And people need to understand this too. You can have 2 badass looking dogs and they just might not match up. Everything that matches up in that is the bad part of everything in their pedigrees.
Oh man, pretty people have ugly ass kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, all the time. Look at the Clintons. Their
nobody
daughter was
want to tell
ugly.
them. Oh.
But no, that's just so it's a preference. It is whatever, but I just don't like it when somebody has put in their hard work and they said, "Hey, I produced this, I didn't buy it." And here comes everybody. Oh, everybody had to buy a dog. Yeah, everybody had to buy a car too before they could start driving and start driving around. But we're not talking about that. It's just,
And I think T-Rod, in his defense, I think that's where he was going is like the two dogs he started with, he bought, right? Like,
right.
But he chose those dogs. He paid the price for those dogs.
And I take nothing away from him.
Well, and I don't think he took offense to you.
Right.
But it is the sentiment, like I'm talking about, that somehow you're a lesser breeder if you bought yours. And his point is, well, everybody started, and he just started later.
Right.
So he's catching up, right?
And that's the thing. There's new breeders coming into this game every day.
I don't think so anymore. I think there's more going out.
I hope there's more going out than coming in, but
it seems that way.
It's just one of those things. It's just and whether the people like it or not, when somebody says they produced the dog, it gets more eyes on them than if they bought the dog. Because if you say, oh, look, I bought this dog, everybody goes, where'd you get that dog?
Right.
I'm going to go buy one from them.
Right.
So when you get to say, I produced it, I didn't buy it, then people are like, all right, what else are you producing? What can I get from you? Because I like this style of dog. So as well as it is all the other sales tactics out there, that is a sales tactic too. That
eventually you'll be on that list of people to buy a female from.
Yes.
Talking about if you're producing.
Yes, that's it. And that's, I don't take it as I don't mean it. I'm not saying other people don't mean it as a derogatory thing. It is to let people know this is the quality that I am producing. And I've got generations behind this, Again, you shouldn't start screaming that when you go out and you buy a male and a female and you put them together and you have a litter. You bought that litter. You just didn't buy the puppy. You bought it. I mean, that's really, while you produced it, you didn't produce it
from
yet.
different camps though. Like that's no different than
If it's from different camps, like I said, it's
you
your
buy the
vision.
same, if you buy two from one camp, I guess maybe that's cooking with somebody else's recipe to start with. Is but that don't mean that 2 or 3 breedings down the road that they don't become yours.
And that's the point. It can become yours, but let me see where you go with that line.
Oh, that's true.
Do you continue getting better, or does it take steps back? Because if you go backwards, then guess what? You proved that if you didn't have what you started off with from that one camp, you're not a producer. You're just out there throwing shit together and you don't understand what's going on. So, but again, that's subject to what people like. What I might think is a step back on a bloodline or something, other people might think is an improvement. So it's all subjective to. And that's the funny thing.
You're talking about a finite difference, though. I think if you take a step back, it's usually pretty noticeable.
Right. It is.
If that dog got 6 inches longer, and 3 inches taller,
right,
and 3 inches narrower,
right.
That's those things, those traits.
And people need to realize producing a badass dog, like we did with Flair, and getting it to the top. And it's a lot of work, but it don't happen. It don't just happen every day. It's just not. While you're breeding, you're not going to get that next stud every litter. You're not going to hit every time.
And you might, but it's just there's still an element of luck to it catching fire.
Yes, there's right color, right dog, right time. And for it to really catch fire.
It's a gang mentality, too. You got to have enough people singing your praises. Even if they're not using your stud, they're telling people, oh, man, if I had the money, that's the one. Because, I know a breeder that, has got, and I've used them. Right. But they don't have the notoriety of some of these other people. And I believe that her males definitely,
right.
They compete or exceed
what's
out there and getting top dollar.
And that's what I'm saying is when people are looking at this stuff and trying to find, it's great to go to the hype breeder because sometimes people are looking for puppies off of that hyped up stud. But if you're looking for quality and you want almost a for sure thing not to screw up a breeding, you might want to go to a smaller camp that doesn't have the luxury of playing around with the pedigree and the DNA. They got to hit, because if they don't hit, then they can't breed no more. They're out of it, you know.
You know, when I started, you know, I didn't. My wife drug me into it. I didn't know shit about these dogs. Immediately, I was just out there just buying hype,
Right.
and I bought a dog from Manny and them, from Manny and Angela, and he sold me the dog in the parking lot, and then he gave me. He said, "Hey man, you quit chasing the studs.
Right.
Like, you need to concentrate on your female." Now,
Right.
mind you, when he drove off, I thought this son could have told me that before he took my money.
Right.
But no, he sold me the dog, and then he told me, he said, I don't worry about these studs. Mm-hmm. He said that's lightning in a bottle. He said you need to concentrate on females, and that was probably some of the best advice I got when I started out. And I did switch over to that strategy,
Right.
because it made sense to me. But I'd never thought about it before, and people were just busy selling me, you know.
Yeah, if that's the advice I could give anybody that's struggling in the game or coming up in the game or just getting into the game, just spend all your money you can on a badass female. Get a badass foundation female, because it will make you more money than any stud you could probably go out and buy right now, because the stud game is very competitive. Everybody's got DNA. Everybody's got something that looks like something. It's just not, there's no more, I don't feel like there's any more one-off, you know, like when we came out with Flair and Teddy Grahams and
we
Willy
were talking
Wonka.
about it, the flash sales.
Yeah.
You're going to get, don't worry about it. You're going to find a big stud, and at some point, some holiday, some Friday,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yep.
$1,500.
Yeah, somebody needs to go out to the bar this weekend or whatever. They're late on the rent. Somebody's going to run a sale on a stud, and you're going to find a hell of a deal on it.
Yeah, they're going to want to buy one of them motorcycles.
Right. You know, that's just the game we're in now. So but I think that was pretty much all on that. I don't know of, I just don't want to beat that horse to death. But
no, I think it's done. But on a side note, though, those partners of mine that have Wednesday,
yeah,
they found they found the seller, the breeder.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they're out of the game. They're done.
right.
And you want to take a guess at what they said they'd sell him the breeding rights to that dog for?
Probably $1,500, $2,000.
They told him $1,000.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, why?
right.
That's like, you already done made your money when you sold it as a pet, and it's been a year, and it's a different guy. Like, and you're not. It's a trindle. It's not a high DNA dog.
Oh yeah. Well, if I didn't know that he was a trend, if he's a trindle, I wouldn't spend another $1,000, because unless he's got some buddies that want to breed to him and he's going to make a little
You're not
money,
gonna make it
he's
back.
not even going to make that $1,000 back on that dog. I mean, he's a nice, beautiful little structured male, but he's blue and tan, trindle.
Yeah.
He's just not going to. I get it in their aspect of it. They want to breed him and keep something in, and that's what he would be a good tool for, is inside your camp.
That's what he wants. Yeah.
You know, so it would probably be worth $1,000 to him, because he's going to have to go spend stud fees anyway. So why not run a risk? And like I say, sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. The structure on that boy is amazing. So it might make sense for him to do it.
They don't know that though,
Right.
because they hadn't seen that dog. They don't know what that dog turned out to.
Right. So, you know, I
told him just to wait. I
But,
said, if they're already sold out and they don't even have dogs no more, like at this point and in this market, for what they're saying, you could go get some really spectacular.
You're
DNA
right.
and
In
breed.
this market, you could and all of that, but I mean, that was kind of the way we always done it. We had our pet home prices, and if you come back later on down the road, you were going to
So
spend.
how much of it is? Because I don't do more than 30%. Like if you don't want papers, I'll knock off 25, 30%.
Well,
So if you come back, I'll only charge you.
I don't care what I sold it to them for. If they want the papers to it, it's another $1,000.
Oh, well, see, that's the difference. I just put a percentage to it because some of them.
And
are
most of
just
those,
not that
now
valuable,
granted,
or in some of them
most
are more
of these were
valuable.
pet home dogs that I were only selling for $2,000, $2,500, 3 at tops, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, and I never have to worry about competing with those dogs because if they were all of that, I would have sold them
Exactly.
so, but that was just kind of the norm on things. You know what I'm saying? That was going on when I started and all that, that if you bought a pet home, most of the time you could go back, and some people's was even higher than that. They would double the price. You know, you'd pay as much for the papers as you did for the pet home dog.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that, my view, that's a little skewed. I don't think that's right. Like, it's a percentage. To me, that's 30% of the value of the dog.
But that was a different market then. You know what I'm saying? And
Well,
dogs were
and
selling for a lot.
So
back
I wasn't
then.
in that market,
Right.
right? I grew up in this market,
Right.
In the way I see it.
And I guess that's kind of the problem we're having right now is we have people that still dreaming of the old market and not wanting to adjust to the new market and thinking that they can get more than they can out of dogs.
Like, you just think about what kind of trindle you can go buy now for.
Oh,
if
you
he
can go
just
buy
don't-
a Rojo Trindle for another $1,000
and
or
have
something.
just as good a structures, because
Right.
those dogs right now are just not selling. That's why I was saying when she hit him with that price for just the paperwork on that dog, I was like, just give it some time.
It also makes you wonder, did the guy that he bought it from actually finish paying it off? Or
He
his
did.
He did.
He bought it as a pet though, I guess, and she
Right.
had to even go home and see if she had
The
the
paperwork.
paperwork to give him the rights.
At least she was nice and she gave him a price and
She did.
and everything else on that other side was a done deal and he didn't have to worry about that. And you know, and that goes to anybody when you buy a dog from somebody that don't have papers and you're going to contact the original seller, you better hope like hell that the person you bought the dog from done good business with them, because if not,
Well, no, that's the other thing. I don't know how the dog got paid off.
Right.
What time frame?
Right,
How much
you know,
hassle?
and
I
that's-
guess I didn't think about that.
that's what I'm saying is you better hope that they kept their word to that breeder, because the chances of you getting them papers for a reasonable price or
Oh, that's the sins of the father kind of thing.
Right,
Like,
you know.
finna pay for the sins of
Yeah.
the person you got that dog
yeah, because
from,
now
right?
they're going to be pissed off because now they know this person has sold this dog, made money off of this dog, and could have paid them off,
Right.
but did not. So they're going to be furious because, for one, they've already missed out on money because they trusted somebody to pay them, and they didn't. So when you go back into an inbox to somebody like that, be very polite. Let them know, hey, I got this dog, blah, blah, blah. I ain't got nothing to do with whatever you and whoever had it, but I would like to know what it's going to take. And sometimes you might take a cussing in the process.
Well, I'd say it's probably more. Even if you don't take that cussing, you're gonna pay a little bit for what the business they did.
Right.
Even though if you didn't have, well, you met him. He's a nice guy. He didn't have nothing
Yeah,
to do with
you
all
know,
that.
and that's why I told him. I said, when you message them, just put as much space between. I don't care if you're best friends with that person or not. Put as much space between you and that person as possible. So when you're talking to them, they're not making you pay for, or thinking that they're trying to roundabout them and get these papers without finish paying for the dog. And,
Well, so that kind of, I know this ain't where we started, but I guess I want to ask you then, because you're talking about it right now, you brought it up. So how you feel about payment plans? Because I have real mixed emotions on this deal. Like, I've had some that worked out great.
they never work out great for me.
No.
Ever. That post I made on Facebook last night about splitting the stud fee, that was not my deal.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So, you know, it was not my deal. He had contacted Brienne, and Brienne knows my rules, but she done it. And I said, well, we'll never see the other half of that, you know. We'll be fighting with them when it's time to get puppies registered,
So
right?
that's what that was meant in that post, where you done forgot about it. You done mentally shut that out.
I
so
had
it wasn't an
done
issue no
mentally
more.
shut it out, and I was like, you know, what we got is what we're going to get, because if the dog didn't take, we were never going to hear from them again, or they were never going to, you know, that was my feelings, because that's been my experience, and it is. And I had just totally blanked that out, and my phone dinged, and it was it was Zelle, and I was like, $1,000. And it took me a minute to register the name and what I was getting sent $1,000 for. And then I remembered, and I was like, oh, hell. So, we messaged him. Yeah, she took blah, blah, blah. But I didn't have to ask him for it. I didn't have to beg him for it. And I wasn't going to, because I'm over those days of all of that. Brianne, so when we first started with Claire.
It doesn't do any good.
Right.
If you're having to chase them down, they don't have the money, and you harassing them, you can't get blood from a turnip.
And this was my theory on it. If she takes and he doesn't pay me at confirmation like he wants to, if he wants that litter registered and sell it for any kind of money or keep a puppy, they eventually got to come back to us.
Yeah, if you don't pay, you enjoy your pet home.
And at that point, well, we're going to have a discussion, because now you were supposed to paid me 30 days ago or 2 months ago, whenever after you messaged me, and well, it's going to be a different conversation, because you didn't hold up your end of the deal, so I don't have to hold mine up. Now we're going to talk money, because now I've had to wait longer than I was supposed to, and you've known she's been pregnant. Now, if he had messaged me and been like, hey, she took, but I need another week or two, you know what? I would have still been fine with that. At least he kept in contact with me. But we really literally didn't hear nothing out of them. They came down, they done the breeding, went home. We really hadn't heard anything. And like I said, he stood on business, done what he said he was going to do. And we'll come to find out, I'd done business with his cousin in New Mexico, and I knew what kind of business he done. So I'm thinking, well, and he still has a rebreed to Flair, and I think we're on our third or fourth rebreed where he hasn't hit, but we're going to keep trying until he gets what he wants, So he knew I'd done good business. So when that happened, but anyways, I digress.
The one that or the setup or the model that I've used that did work through a couple litters is, so like early on, if they would I'll keep them till they're 16 weeks old. And I don't have a problem with that. I have the facilities to do that. But you have to have them paid off by there with a minimum payment each month. And we agree on that, right?
Right.
So that you're not going to pay $100 a month and then owe me $4 at the end. Because
right.
if you couldn't pay more than $100, if you couldn't pay a sizable amount each month, you never going to make that balloon payment.
Right.
And of course, all that stuff's non-refundable because I got that dog off the market. And chances are, when it's 4 months old and it leaves with all its shots, and not many people buy 4-month-old dogs.
Right.
That you have to wait. There's a window,
right.
And when if it's a female, when it gets to be at 9-10 months,
right.
people
now,
start looking at it again.
Right now, you can get it when it's getting close to coming back into heat. You can get that price
market.
for it again.
Yeah, it's
right.
a different market you're messing with there, though. So I did that, and I've never got burned except for one time, and the lady put her deposit down, and I never heard it. Like that's to me is insane. Right. Like you enter an agreement, a contract to buy a dog, and you never make another payment. You give me $500, I think is what she did, and right. We just never heard from her again. Yeah, and that's the thing. Most of the time, sometimes I'll cut brakes on females. I'll lower the price, but they've got to give me like second pick back off their first litter. And it's been mixed on that one for me too, and I used to be a really trusting guy, and I'd just go ahead and give them the paperwork, have this contract signed, and that way I didn't have to mess with it. We'll pick our puppy up off her first litter whenever she has it, a couple years down the road, whatever. And I've had a few people burn me on that, and I never get anything back out of that. But even at that, I still made good money off the dog to start off with. But now, if that's the deal we make, you're not getting the paperwork to that female. I'm registering her. She's going to be in my name until I get my puppy, and then you have to. And then I'll register all the puppies on that litter. When I pick my puppy up, we will sit down right in front of it, register the litter, get it approved. Everybody gets there. That owner gets all of its puppy papers and the papers to that mama, and I take my dog. That's the only way I'm going to do it anymore. That's the only way I can do it anymore. But, like I was saying, Brianne, and anybody that listens to this, don't pull this because I've been vetoing a lot of her deals. So, but she is very more forgiving and more
let me do a deal with somebody than I am. Like she done it when Flair first started working. We had a lady that wanted to breed to Flair in Hawaii, and she sent, I want to say $2,000, and then the shipping cost. And she's like, "I'll send y'all the rest of it tomorrow." Okay. Well, they got the box. They tried lying and saying the swimmers was dead, and we was like, "Well, what'd you do with them? Show us under the microscope." Well, we went ahead and put them in her. Well, if they were all dead, then why'd you use it? Why'd you run the risk? But we never got any more money.
If you're gonna do that, why didn't you take a picture of it before?
Right.
Or take a video of it before?
And that's what I told her, and I was like, "I don't believe you. I don't believe you one bit." And I told her, "You have till the end of the week to pay me my stud fee, or don't call me when them puppies are born, because I will not register that litter in any shape, form, or fashion, because you didn't hold your end of the bargain up. You just got a whole litter of pet homes, because don't lie to me." And
they were never going to call you when the puppies were born anyway.
No.
The puppies were going to be born to their stud.
Right.
100% they were.
Right.
Like that's how people get ahead, right? Like that's how
Yeah.
you convince somebody that you're a producer.
And
you use one of those studs. You never registered.
I mean, that wasn't the
stud.
only one. Like I said, I mentioned it in our first episode. We got done in by that big breeder in Utah because she lied and said all the swimmers was dead. And I refunded her money. And come to find out,
you refunded her partner's money.
yeah, I refunded her partner's money, and she pocketed not only that money, but I know she had a litter off of them, because I can look at the damn dogs and I can tell they were Flair puppies. You know, I know.
Sometimes you gotta respect hustlers.
Yeah, well,
You don't have to like them.
sometimes
But,
these
man,
hustlers better stay in their house
That's
hustling.
why she's in. But see, she's in the safety of Utah. I don't know if you've ever been up there, but that's a drive.
But that's the thing. I'm not scared of the drive, and I tell people that.
That's
But
not how most people think, though.
Right,
They think that distance is okay.
But the funny thing is, this breeder used to hit up all the big shows in Texas and everywhere else. But I told her, "Come to a show in Texas, and I'm going to call your ass out in the middle of the show ring and let everybody know just what kind of business you do." I said, "I'll run your ass." And I ain't seen her back at a show in Texas since then, but she knew.
Well, those people like that, just about every industry, eventually it weeds its way out. There'll be new people replace them at that level, but like you can't operate like that. You can only burn so many people so long,
Right.
And eventually, once you got that reputation, you're not operating on credit no more.
Well,
You're not
it's-
operating on good faith no more.
Right. It's kind of like the racetrack. You'll have some people that's got tons of money decide, "Okay, I'm going to go racing this year." And they come out and they have all the big fancy shit, and they kind of wear everybody's asses out, and people just kind of quit going to that track or whatever because they don't want to deal with them. Well, then they get bored and they're like, "Well, this ain't even no fun." And they think they'll eventually go out when the money's not showing up to pay the purses, and they're not throwing any big races. So it is kind of,
Or there'll be bitches because
Right.
there'll be one old man there in a 1974 Love pickup that's been in that pickup since 1980.
right.
And it's the same combination, and he runs the same number over and
Right.
over again. And you're out there in your car waiting 10 seconds before you get to go.
Right.
Watching this man just putt down a track, and you can't beat him.
Right.
Like that's a real deal. That's a true story.
Right. And that's,
I know a guy's like that, and he would just frustrate the hell out of them guys that roll out there with them stackers. You know, and they got
Yep.
all that money, enclosed trailers,
Yeah,
stickers all over their car.
So yeah, you have somebody that'll just do that, and it'll go away because it's not financially feasible for them to stay doing it. And the way the market's headed,
And that old man's your little breeder you're talking about.
so the way the market is heading, these little breeders are just chugging away and saying, "Well, this is what I can get in the market right now, so we're going to do it." While the money at the top of the market is drying up, the big money is drying up, where it becomes a point where they're like, "You know what? It's not even worth cleaning up dog shit anymore for what I'm making," because they get to compare it to the top dollar that used to be in the market.
Well, let's be honest. It's when they can't afford to pay the person that's cleaning up the dog shit,
Right.
that they're gonna get out.
That's
minute
it,
they
you know.
got to bend over and pick up some dog shit.
It's going to take a long time for the smaller breeder to get out because they've been cleaning up the dog shit the
Yeah.
whole time. They know what they've got. It's their routine daily. They don't have somebody to watch their dogs or to do any of that. They have to do it all. So I tell everybody, if you watch the bigger names in the industry are starting to eat each other, where they all used to try to keep a monopoly on the top and they all supported each other. Well, now they're all doing some shit, the flash sales and this and that, and they're getting pissed off at each other because one of them beat them to the other one to it, or something. So the market will level out.
Everybody that takes them up on that flash sale is a buyer off the market.
Right.
It's regardless of what you sold to them for. Like now, if it might have took them an extra month or two to come up with the rest of this other guys,
right?
Well, they're like, well, shit, why am I gonna do that? Right now I can go. This guy's offering it at that price. Yeah.
Right. So that's where that is, and it's just one of those things. I think we'll get back to where the Frenchie market once was, where there were like a $5,000-$7,000 dog for a top quality dog, and down from there. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a lot of it too. Is people going to have to get it out of their mind that, when I got into this, like a shitty dog, not even a shitty dog, but just an average dog. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just average. It may have one or two flaws, maybe a little long, maybe a little tall, something like that. Those dogs were still $7,000. Right.
And they never should have been.
No. And that's what I'm saying. And the new DNAs and stuff coming out, the flutals, I know there's people out there working on them to make them look better and all that, but it just doesn't resemble a Frenchie. So the flutal name, if they want to take it and create their own line like they did with the Doodles and the Cavapoos and all of that, that's great. You're going to find a market for that, but I don't think all the new little fads coming out with the hair coats and all of that are really what the smaller breed. The backbone of the money train for all of these bigger people is to buy, for the littler guy to buy in on that. And they're not going to buy in on that at high prices anymore because they've all gotten burnt one way or another. So they're like, nah, I'm just not going to do it. So that money it's out there.
It's a more experienced market.
Yes.
It's just the people, they got burnt enough. Like you have to wait for a new generation of breeders to start that scheme over again.
Right.
People that haven't been through it.
And there's just not enough new ones coming into it anymore. And you can tell that by the drop off of the number of puppies being registered every year. Because 22 it was 100 and something thousand. 23 it was 89,000. 24 it was 74,000. So we've already lost 30,000 puppies being produced.
It's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing at all. But it shows you that people are not just out there saying, okay, well, we're going to breed to everything because the money's there. And anybody could sell a puppy for $10,000 a few years back. I mean, that was just kind of the going price of anything with any type of good DNA. So,
well, like my boys got them Australian Shepherds. And that stud they got, they studied him out a few times. And everybody's running the Doodles. There's only one person that they've done that's going straight back to an Australia. It's Doodle everything.
Right, everything's a Doodle, and I don't know why, but it is so. But
well, they say it's hypoallergenic, but there's no such thing. Like that's a myth. That's bullshit.
Right.
They just don't shed as bad as other dogs, but there's no dog that doesn't produce dander. It doesn't exist.
Right.
And so it's a false advertisement deal, but I mean,
man, I don't know. So I know we got show season's kind of winded down. I guess I'm going to Coachella in January in California. But after that, there really ain't no more big shows until Rumble in the Jungle, I guess.
What's that?
That's in, what is it, May,
March?
April, May, March, somewhere in there?
Sorry, I don't know. Off the top of my head.
I don't know. I don't normally go. It's just too much for me, but
I wish there was some place you could go that just posted the shows.
Right.
To where it was all there, not necessarily just TCBR or just ABKC, just all of them.
Right. And everybody's got their content and they put it out there. Usually the photographers are the best ones to catch up with who won a Best in Show, like Ken Llewellyn. If you want to know who won a Best in Show, chances are he was probably at that show. I know there was 2 shows
mattered.
yesterday, you know, and the littler, smaller registry shows, you know, they have their big ones, USBR, TCBR, ABKC. They all have their nationals, which is their big show of the year, which we've just went through all of them having their nationals. So that's over for the year. That won't be till next year. So those are all going to be just little pop-up shows, not pop-up, but they're not going to be a Frenchie Bowl or an Off the Leash or a Coachella or.
I mean, it's that time of year, right? Like everybody's. It'd be stupid to try to compete with Christmas.
And there's times of years to throw them and times of years not to throw them, and you can't be too close to another one. You can't be too far away from another one. You got to be in an area that people can get in and out of easy.
You can't force people to choose a holiday over a dog show.
You're
going to lose every time on that deal.
Right. You know.
So that's why racing does it too.
Well,
there's no racing going on now.
Yeah, because if you look at a household, and let's just say the husband or the wife, either one, was just the person doing dogs and not the other, right? Well, that other spouse is going to want a vacation with the kids, and they don't want to go to a dog show, you know? So either they're going to go on vacation and you're going to go to a dog show by yourself and you're going to catch hell when you get home for it, or the family's just going to go on the vacation and you're going to skip a dog show. That's the smart thing to do. Not all breeders are a husband and wife tandem that enjoy going to dog shows and all of that.
It's usually one, and the other one's just there because they have to be.
Right, and if they have a choice of going to the beach or the lake or something on a holiday, they would rather go there than to a dog show, you know. And some people's kids don't even enjoy it because they're like, I see these dogs every day. I don't want to go to a dog show. You know, they're kids.
The kids are tired of cleaning up poop.
Right, you know, so.
I know mine are.
There is all of that, but I'm looking forward to going out to California. It'll be my first show in California to see, and Coachella's supposed to be a really good one. I like to go out there and just see what's popping out that direction. And then I know we got Lady Talk Bully Walk with Olivia Russell in sometime towards the end of the year, and then Donald Murphy's Bully Awards and his dog show. That's like a 2-day event, 3-day event. I don't know. I'm supposed to go to those, but we'll see when that time gets here because it's a long ways off. But
it's a lot of days in between here and there.
Yeah. So, but other than that, I don't think we got much else. I want to, like I said, I'll have more to talk about next month. Coachella, I can report back to that. I'm going to try to record some little interviews or something down there while I'm there to put out some content, talk to some people. I'll put up some lives, do some lives and stuff. But
maybe between now and then we can figure out one of them small breeders.
Yeah,
and talk to them.
Any of y'all out there that want to hop on, get in our inbox, mine or Benny's. Inside the Kennel Media inbox, one of ours, and if you want to come on and share your experiences, talk dogs, tell us what you think you see in the market. We're open to whatever y'all want to talk about, and stories.
To educate people is
educate
is a really
people on what you went through getting started, or to where you are right now. Just let us know, and we'll get it done, and we'll go from there. But I think we'll call that good for.
It works for this week, I believe.
For this week, and y'all have a great rest of the week or whatever y'all are going to do. And I guess Christmas is next week, so
just 2 weeks.
Well, I'm thinking this is already this week, so it's the following week.
So I guess by the calendar,
so
my week starts on Monday, like everybody else's.
Right? Yeah. So I don't even know what day it is half the damn time. I just go with it. So
it's a first world problem.
But all right, till next time, we'll see y'all then.
Welcome inside the kennel, the heartbeat of the dog gang, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it, one lit at a time. Your host, Kevin, Ben, and Roderick. Lock in.